Hey friends, so let's start with the next part of this chapter, acids, carboxylic acids. Okay, so the first thing comes is they are actually organic compounds which have COOH as their functional group. Simple. Now, how are they formed? So suppose you have over here, you have some aldehyde or some kind of a carbonyl group. Now in this group, if you just replace this part with a alcohol part, a OH part, finally you get COOH. Simple. So now let's start learning about how to name them. So here comes the nomenclature of these acids. Nomenclature of carboxylic acids. Okay, so the first thing we have to know is that these acids can be either monocarboxylic acid. It means that they have only one COOH group. There might be a acids having two COOH groups, and we will also learn about how to name some of the aromatic acids. So they have a ring. So let's start with the naming of monocarboxylic acid. So the first thing to know is that they have only one COOH group in them. So the first thing is that their IUPAC name, so you just have to replace the E, the last E of the alkane, with OIC acid. So from alkane, ALK alkane, you have to replace the last E with a oic acid. Okay. So for example, suppose you have HCOOH. Now this compound has a common name of formic acid. Whereas if you have to name this compound using the rules of IUPAC, the name is, first of all, it has only one C atom. So it is methane. So methanoic acid. Simple. If we take one more example, CH3COOH. Now it has a name of acetic acid. Common name. And over here it has two C atoms, so it will be ethanoic acid. Suppose if we take one more example, something like CH3, CHOH, and then a COOH. Now this acid has a common name of lactic acid. If you have to name this acid, the COOH will always have number 1, then 2, then 3. So it will be 2-hydropropanoic acid. Okay. Now let's start with how to name a dicarboxylic acid. So the first thing to know over here is that they have two COOH groups. So simply the IUPAC name, you just have to replace the end E of the alkane with dioic acid. Okay, so for example, if we take HOOC COOH, so COOH COOH, its common name is, it has a common name of oxalic acid. Whereas if you have to name it, this is 1, this is 2. So it will have a IUPAC name of, it has 2 C atoms. So ethane dioic acid. Over here, actually I can also write it as ethane 1,2 dioic acid, but actually over here it's obvious. So now let's learn how to name the aromatic acids. Aromatic acids. So what happens is that in their names we use, so they are named something like aromatic, and then we have to use the term carboxylic acid. Simple. Why like this? Suppose you have a ring structure. So what will happen is that always the COOH group will be outside the ring. So you have to name it like aromatic and then a carboxylic acid. If the C atom is included in the acid, you have to always use the term carboxylic acid. Why this term? Because there is a C atom in this group involved. But if the C atom is inside the ring, suppose something like this, if the C atom is inside the ring, then you have to use the term oic acid. Simple. So suppose I take the simplest example. So this acid has a common name of, this ring structure is benzene, so it is benzoic acid. Simple. Its IUPAC name, you have two options, either to call it the same benzoic acid, or you also have an option to call it as benzene carboxylic acid. Okay. If I take one more example under this section, suppose you have a ring, then a CH2 and a COOH group. Now this acid has a name of phenyl acetic acid. Phenyl, and this is a phenyl ring and it's a acetic acid. So the phenyl acetic acid is its common name. If you have to name this over here, so in the COOH will have the number 1, then the number 2, so it will be simply 2-phenyl. It has 2 C atoms, so okay.
Thank you for watching. Visit us at needbook.in.